If there's one certainty that we can apply to all of today's modern women, it's that they love to wallow in their victimhood. And another certainty is that whatever they're using to explain and justify that victimhood, well, they can't let men have those same explanations or justifications. For example,
You're petrified of false allegations?
ah, yes, another nose ring wearing, multicolored haired, crazy eyed woman telling men what men think and feel. Well, let me clarify a misconception you have right off the bat. It's not that men are petrified of a false allegation. Oh no, that's a female response. Men don't respond with emotion like women do. No, what men have made is a logical, reasoned conclusion that the risk of a false allegation, especially from one with the aforementioned multicolored hair, nose rings, and crazy eyes, is a very real risk, one that should not be ignored and must indeed be paid attention to. And men doing that doesn't make them petrified, it makes them intelligent. It means they've made a logical, reasoned assumption based on the realities they see in today's modern world. Big difference.
Are you watching what you're wearing around women?
Well, I hate to break it to you, darling, but as a matter of fact, many men are. Because many men know that whether they're going to be viewed as welcomed or a creep is largely based on the woman's judgment of his appearance. And clothing goes a long way in determining that judgment. The reality is most women view a man in a three-piece suit as far less risky than, say, a man in t-shirt and jeans. It's also why, ladies, the chads and the men who are actually dangerous to you tend to dress up because they know it lowers your guard. The reality is those guys are far more risky to you than the average guy walking around in t-shirt and jeans. So yes, men are aware that how they dress does matter. In some ways good, and in some ways bad. But I'll bet none of that ever crossed your mind, did it?
Are you making sure that you're not having too much to drink around women?
And again, as a matter of fact, yes indeed, men are paying attention to what they're drinking around women. Because you see, there's a very real double standard that exists. One, by the way, that's been written into law in some places, and pretty much applied as law everywhere else. One that says that women who are inebriated or intoxicated cannot by definition give consent. Yet those same rules don't apply to men. If a man is drunk and gets taken advantage of by a woman, well, he's just enjoying it or wanted it. Even better yet, if a pregnancy results because of said encounter, the man who is inebriated and thus the victim gets to pay his attacker child support for decades to come. It happens far more frequently than anyone wants to admit, and there's well-established case law that will require him to pay his attacker the child support. Funny how you left that part out of your little soliloquy. So yeah, for damn sure men should be protecting themselves by not being inebriated around women and watching their drinks and not leaving them unattended. Because it doesn't take much for a woman to roofie a drink any more than it does a man. That's a reality.
Are you making sure that you're with a buddy at all times? A buddy system will always prevent a false allegation, trust.
Oh, really? Tell that to the Duke lacrosse team or, say, the Central Park 5 or, I don't know, the Groveland 4. All groups of men who were buddied up and yet were falsely accused of committing R&SA. Didn't protect them much, did it? That said, I somewhat agree with you. Men should be buddying up. It at least gives them some level of protection, though to be honest, not much. What would be a far better and more prudent idea is to wear body cams anytime there's a risk you might be around a woman. Whether it's at work, school, out in the general public. It's a smart idea to wear some sort of body cam so that you can prove that you didn't do what she's going to claim you did. That will give you far more protection than even a buddy would.
You gotta make sure you have friends going with you to the bathroom, walking you to your car. I mean, honestly, you probably shouldn't even be leaving the house at all.
You know, you gotta laugh when these women own themselves and don't even realize it. Because that's exactly what men are doing. They're not venturing out into society at all anymore. They're staying home playing video games or going out hunting and fishing by themselves, doing everything they can to avoid being anywhere near a woman. And let me reiterate, it's not out of fear. It's a smart, prudent decision to do so. Because today's modern women have proven themselves to be nothing short of a total risk to men. And oh, before you go saying that it's not all women, it is indeed all women that we cannot trust, because we can never know, just like you say, you can never know with men. Yes, you could say that it's obvious that the ones who are the man-hating feminists, the ones who have multicolored hair and nose rings, those are obvious risks. But I hate to break it to you, but there's plenty of girl next door types that are every bit the risk they are. And here's another little nugget for you. The most likely woman to make a false allegation against a man is someone that he trusts, like say his wife, which is evidenced by the thousands of false allegations made in family court every single day.
I mean, there's just women waiting around every corner to falsely accuse men of something.
You know what's really hilarious is that she has no clue that her video where she's trying to mock men about false allegations in and of itself is a false allegation, because she's creating a false paradigm about men. She's made up in her mind already what men think and feel. She hasn't talked to men, she's just made assumptions, and then is reacting based on those assumptions, which leads to, wait for it, a false allegation. And that's the takeaway that men need to have from videos like this, because women like this are by far the most dangerous. They will literally make things up in their mind and apply them to men. And if they apply them in a negative way, much like she did, the risk of a false allegation skyrockets. These women are not safe to be around. Not in the workplace, certainly not in relationships, and not in society in general. They are to be avoided at all costs. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, some of them make it obvious, but many other women, not so much. And it's why men are done and walking away. Not just from women in relationships, but from society as a whole. You can't reason with this level of toxicity. The only option is to avoid it at all costs.